Ever wonder what Buddhists mean when they talk about emptiness? To help you understand, imagine this. You're lounging around your living room, giving the evil eye to that old clock hanging on the wall. While it's been a faithful servant dutifully ticking away the years, its worn-out appearance is starting to grate on you. The idea of smashing it into a billion glittering fragments is something you find strangely appealing. After all, it's been there for decades and is starting to look a little worse for wear. Busting it up into a billion glittering shards might even be cathartic. With a mischievous glint in your eye, you get your trusty hammer out of your toolbox and use it to smash the clock. The sound of shattering glass and metal fills the air with an ear-splitting noise as the once reliable timepiece explodes into a dazzling display of destruction. Now, here's the kicker. Try as you might, can you point to a single shard and confidently declare, "That's a clock"? No way. That's because each broken fragment lacks the essence of clockness. It becomes crystal clear to you that the clock was merely a mental construct, a concept that arose from the precise arrangement of its constituent parts. But don't stop there. Slice and dice the pieces until they're tinier than atoms. Keep going until they're even smaller than quarks, those elusive building blocks of the universe. By dissecting matter into increasingly smaller bits, the illusion of solidity crumbles like a sandcastle washed away by the tide. A vast open expanse remains where all possibilities dance and intermingle. From the destruction of a clock to the dissection of subatomic particles, we have arrived at a profound realization. The solidity we assign to the world is an illusion, an artifact of our perceptions. In other words, we've come to realize that everything arises out of an all-encompassing emptiness. Because of that, we now know that we shouldn't attach ourselves to the material world. We suddenly feel silly that we projected our anger on a material object, in our case, a cheap chronological device mainly used for its visual appeal. Emptiness is one of the foundational pillars of wisdom in Buddhist philosophy. Known as shunyata in Sanskrit, it's a concept that takes our conventional models of reality and flips them on their heads. We humans have this funny habit of creating suffering for ourselves and others because we're hopelessly stuck in ideas of how things should be. The way out of this collective hell is through an understanding of emptiness. In the English language, emptiness doesn't have positive connotations. When most people talk about this concept, they typically mean a profound sadness has overtaken them. This is one of the reasons why people love to twist the original Buddhist teachings to make it sound like emptiness is a gloomy, nihilistic philosophy that espouses the idea that everything is pointless. However, nothing could be further from the truth. In Buddhism, emptiness is something else entirely, a profound insight into the nature of existence that helps us perceive things as they are. Arriving at this realization is incredibly liberating. Emptiness means that things have no independent existence and that all material objects and phenomena are interconnected, interdependent, and constantly in flux. While objects might appear reassuringly solid, that's only an illusion, a devious trick played on us by our egos. Some people believe that emptiness is a mind utterly devoid of mental activity. In other words, the state of consciousness most often brought about by meditation. However, emptiness isn't a state of mind, but, as the Dalai Lama says, the true nature of things and events. We live in a world where nothing is what it seems. The things we think are separate and distinct objects are interwoven together in an intricate web of causality that's mind-boggling in its scope. Even our sense of self is more like a wild dance of energies than a fixed and unchanging psychological construct. Emptiness is the midwife that helps birth all temporary expressions of the divine. Nothing we see, hear, smell, or taste stands apart from itself. Everything is a vibrant expression of one seamless yet constantly changing panoply of existence. We come from emptiness, and it is to emptiness we shall return. Although our senses may deceive us, convincing us that the world we perceive is real, we must recognize that these perceptions arise from the emptiness we seek to comprehend. Once you attain this awareness, you'll see that the entire universe springs from nothingness, a boundless field of pure potentiality that gives rise to all possibilities. In other words, emptiness is the formlessness that gave rise to form. We grasp things so very tightly, believing that because they seem fixed and long-lasting, we can borrow their apparent solidity to strengthen our egos. Only when we become one with the spaciousness that comes with emptiness can we peer deeply through the mirage and realize that, ultimately, reality isn't something we can pluck out of the air as if we're picking apples from a tree. It's as fluid and hard to pin down as the ocean's ever-changing tides. Even though no person or thing has an independent identity, everything taken together is something Thich Nhat calls interbeing. This word is a loose translation of the Vietnamese phrase Tip Hien. Tip meaning being in touch with and continuing. Hien means realizing and making it here and now. These words mean taking the Buddha's teachings and making them a part of your everyday life. Something you can only do if you're in touch with the spacious nothingness inside of you. Emptiness means that things don't exist in the way our clinging minds think they do. It helps us see that the permanence we believe things have is an illusion created by our egos. This delusion of consciousness causes us to attach ourselves to a false sense of self and identification with the material world, which creates suffering. Emptiness can only be realized through direct experience. By embracing the inner spaciousness that comes with an intuitive understanding of emptiness, we throw off the shackles of dualistic thinking, which awakens us to our divine nature. Mystics diving into the oceanic depths of being recognize the emptiness within themselves as the same dimension from which all material objects and temporal phenomenon emerge. Through their explorations, they uncover a startling truth. There is no seer nor seen. There is only seeing. By embracing emptiness, we break free from the need to create stories to make sense of the world and stop getting all tangled up in the unnecessary narratives. Instead, we watch our thoughts float like passing clouds without getting caught up in them. This allows us to experience reality in its unfiltered state. For example, let's say you're relaxing by the pool without a worry in the world. Suddenly, you feel intense, unreasoning fury toward your significant other because of something she said. You took something that was meant innocently and blew it up out of proportion, all because you're too heavily invested in the idea of separatedness. Typically, your mind will react by labeling the rage as my anger or I'm angry. It uses the negative emotion to create a melodramatic story about you and your lover. Instead of overreacting, embrace the emptiness by watching your angry thoughts flit through the sky of your mind like fleeting clouds. This will help you see that labels such as I, me, and other are not only totally unnecessary, but are the true source of your pain. The problem is that by investing in these fictitious narratives, you're creating a ton of emotional baggage that distracts from the actual cause of your angst. Seeing yourself as an I totally separates from the web of existence. This causes you to blame your psychological distress on external factors. Once you get a tantalizing glimpse into the nature of reality, you realize there is no separate you and no separate other. Everything is a part of a glorious totality arising from the undifferentiated dimension. Instead of being a compulsive story maker addicted to the energy-sapping melodramas you used to find compelling, you'll start to see reality as it actually is, without the gratuitous layers of embellishment added by our monkey minds. By freeing yourself from attachments to misleading narratives, limiting worldviews, and crippling assumptions about the nature of existence, your mind will stop tormenting you. At that moment, you're free. You've found a home in emptiness, and it's found a home in you.